What's up guys, I hope all of you are amazing today. Now, we're gonna go over bull flag pattern examples today. As you know, we have already learned how to trade bull flag patterns and the most important trading essentials of bull flags. Please check that video first before starting to watch this one, because I've shared all my trading secrets and tips on that trading video. If you're all set, let's go. Before I move to a real example, please let me do a very quick summary of bull flags. The first type is the catalyst movers. In this example, stock moves around regularly without any extreme moves. And then a catalyst comes up, a piece of important news, earning reports, product launches, 52-week high or all-time high, and our stock price bursts sharply. And this creates our pole. What we want here is a rising or a high volume in this phase. Then we enter the consolidation period. This could be a big resistance point, or sellers just take profits from their positions. What we want here is a decreasing volume, or at least a stable one. Now our flag shape came into existence. The expected move is around the length of the pole. Another place where we see bull flags is uptrends. Let's continue from this example. A catalyst could start an uptrend easily, and uptrends are heavens of the bull flags. If you go into lower time frames like 1 minute, 5 minutes or 1 hour, you'll see many bull flags. These are traded mostly by day traders and scalpers. So, how do we enter a trade for bull flag pattern? After the consolidation period, we want a breakout of the flag to enter. Just around here is a great entry. And we place our stop loss order just under the flag. Okay guys, this was our quick recap of how to trade bull flag patterns. Let's move on to examples. So, let's talk about bull flags on uptrends. As you can see, NIO has had this significant uptrend for a long time. And it's forming a nice bull flag just over here. This is the pole. And as you can see, the flag shape here. And if you check the volume, it's rising with the pole and decreasing with the consolidation period. Finally, I'm checking with EMA 9 and 20 for an extra confirmation about we are coming to an end of the consolidation period. Now, how do we enter this trade? We wait for a breakout from the flag and place our stop loss order just below the flag. Now the expected move is around the length of the pole. Let's play the trade. Before moving to the next example, let me teach you a little secret for identifying bull flags. Now sometimes candlesticks could be really confusing to identify the bull flags. So I use this Heiken Ashi bar style from time to time if things are not clear. It makes it much more easier for traders to identify patterns, formations or trends. One small flag here, one big bull flag pattern here, and there's another one which didn't work. If I entered this trade, I could have been stopped. So as you can see, identifying bull flags with Heiken Ashi is extremely simple. If you are a beginner, please use it. 52 weeks high. This is my favorite, watched by day traders to long-term investors. Now let's see how to trade 52 weeks high. AMD is our example. This is our 52-week line. There are many free indicators that show this line that you can find in the TradingView. Just put an alarm on this one or create a scanner in your trading platform. I use Thinkorswim from TD Ameritrade. Why 52 weeks? Because once it's broken, it ignites a strong uptrend. And uptrends are heaven for trading bull flag patterns. What I like is I let the breakout happen first and wait for the consolidation period. Now see it happen. Breakout happened and we are now in the consolidation period. And our flag shape is very obvious now. I also want to confirm with the volume. Volume is rising as we want. And in the consolidation, it's declining. Perfect. Now, how to trade the bull flag pattern? We enter the trade once the flag is broken. And right after that, place our stop loss order below the flag. Our profit target is in the length of the pole. Finally, I'll check the EMA 9 and 20 for an extra confirmations in order to check if the consolidation is about to end or not. Let's watch the trade now. All-time high ATH. Our next example is EA, Electronic Arts. Trading all-time highs have no difference than 52 weeks high. Same principles apply. However, all-time highs are so powerful resistance points. But once it's broken, sky's the limit, because there is no resistance at all. Again, I wait for a breakout and consolidation first. Let's let it happen first. Trading all about patience. Think of yourself as a hunter and wait for your prey. This may take several days or weeks. This is why we put alarms on possible trades. It's not practical to sit and watch every stock every single moment. Now, price is broken and consolidation happened. We have our flag. So, we wait for a breakout moment from the flag to enter the trade. By the way, confirming the volume action is always good. As you can see, volume is increasing and declining. A perfect environment for trading bull flags. Let's place our entry and stop loss orders. Now, let's watch the trade. Golden cross. This one is generally used by position traders or long-term investors. However, I always use it to confirm whether we are in an uptrend or not. It's generally considered as once 50 SMA crosses over 200 SMA upside. This means that we are starting an uptrend, a bullish momentum. As you can see, a cross happens here. An uptrend starts in our Tesla stock. Now, all we need to do is check for bull flags. And yes, you can see one here, a very clean and obvious bull flag pattern. Let me draw the pole, flag, and our target. As always, I'm checking the volume. As you can see, it's increasing within the pole shape and decreasing during the consolidation. Finally, I'll check the EMA 9 and 20 for an extra confirmations. Now let's watch our trade. Earning reports. Earning reports are generally create a very big, very volatile movements on the stock. If you're a beginner trader, you should never touch earning reports. There's a special trading strategy called earning reversal by day traders. I'll also teach this on my YouTube channel later on. Now, what we do for earning reports, we wait 1-2 weeks after the report and check if the report created a bullish or a bearish momentum in the stock. After that, we scan for bull flags. As you can see, we have a nice bull flag just right here. Let's look at the volume. This time volume looks stable, not that much increasing. This may reduce our chances of a winning trade. Finally, I'm checking EMA 9 and 20. If the price consolidation is about to end or not. And it looked nice. Now let's watch the trade. Product launches. Actually, trading earning reports, product launches, deals, contracts, mergers, or acquisitions are similar. I would never suggest you trade them the day they happen. They are majorly traded by the day traders and scalpers on the same day or week. And these people create intense volatility in that stock the same week. You can't understand if the stock goes up or down. Let things settle for a week unless you are a day trader or scalper. I'll teach you the secrets of day trading and scalping in my channel soon. Let's get back to Apple event, a launch for iPhone, iPad and Mac lineups. First weeks of the stock is volatile. But finally, it follows an existing trend and forms our beloved flag shape. Let me draw it for you. If I check the volume, it looks flat and not exciting to me. This will be a riskier trade than normal. This is why we use stop loss orders for managing our risks always. Now let me check EMA 9 and 20 support. It looks like it nicely taps and bounces from the EMA 20 line. Now let's place our entry and stop loss orders. And let's see what happens. Now, I would like to talk about these 3-day trading and scalping techniques which are mostly used by day traders and scalpers. I'll teach it in much more detail in a day trading playlist series in the future. So I will switch to Think or Swim software from TD Ameritrade, which I use every day for my day trading sessions. If you're trading under a 24-hour frame, you are no more concerned with the economy, interest rate, Fed talks, and so on. What you need mostly, daily catalyst, support and resistance points, and the breakouts. I have just recently traded Nvidia. It was just a heaven for bull flags. In my day trading sessions, I use 1-minute or 5-minute charts depending on the stock. Nowadays, I use 5 minutes more because there's so much noise with 1-minute charts. I have a special indicator called VWAP, which is used by almost 99.9% of day traders. This pink moving average is the VWAP. It's simply a volume-weighted average price. If the price is over VWAP, we assume the trend is up, and we check for the bull flags. Vice versa, bear flags. It's just as simple as that. This green line shows me yesterday's highest price. And this blue line is pre-market high. Once the price is over VWAP, yesterday high and the pre-market high, my sentiment is a strong uptrend. Then I start trading bull flags because it's gonna be a heaven for bull flags most of the time. As you can see, there are 4 bull flags in a row here. I traded 2 of them in the middle. Our bull flag trading rules are simple. Look for an uptrend. Volume increasing during the burst. Volume decreasing during the consolidation. And our entries are simple. Wait for a strong breakout from the flag. My stop loss is my hand. I do not use it during day trading or scalping because there is not much time for that. You may also use EMA 9 during day trading, which is loved as much as VWAP. However, I have been trading for years now. I keep my charts very clean, just watching for the price action. This was our brief intro to day trading and scalping. I'll teach every detail about it soon on my channel. So, I hope you understand how to trade bull flag patterns with all these trading examples. It's actually really simple. The trick of all trading is stop losses and risk management. Please ask me your questions in the comment section. I'm really happy to give you very detailed explanation for all kinds of trading examples. If you can hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, I'll be able to support this channel and bring much more content to you. Please take care and be safe, guys.